everybody, and welcome to This is Legends of Yesterday. Ooh. We are live and in action here in our office.
Did you miss us?
Did you miss us? Because I missed you.
Yeah.
And I feel like first day of school vibes going on right now because I'm like, oh my God, we haven't done this in so long. Am I going to remember everything?
I don't remember anything.
I don't know. But anyways, hello. My name is Alexandra.
And I'm Angelica.
And this is our podcast that we started. It's a part of a branch of This Is. So we have This Is Improv. This is Legends of Yesterday. This is Life Unscripted. This is Tours.
Yeah.
This is a lot.
This is a lot.
This is a lot.
This is a lot. And we're a lot.
We're improvisers.
Yeah.
And we are also sisters. So if you hear us calling each other names,
it's because we love each other.
That's
it's out of love.
That's out of love, guys.
Out of love.
Now for our first episode back after what, like 2 years?
I want to say it was 2 years.
It's about 2 years now.
So I don't know if you're longtime listeners or if you're just starting here today. Welcome. But we started this podcast back during the pandemic when we weren't allowed to go outside. We weren't allowed to talk to people face to face. So one of the things that we love and one of the things we want to start doing are ghost tours because improvisers do tours. It's a long tradition of people in Amsterdam, in Chicago, doing tours, entertaining people while walking, exercise, healthy. But as soon as the pandemic hit, everything closed down. We started this. We were enthralled by all of the history that happens right here in Florida and the mysteries and the ghost stories. But, you know, all things come to an end. So did the pandemic, thank goodness. Or at least, you know, it became a little bit more manageable.
Yeah.
And so we started up our ghost tours again, and we were able to go outside and talk to people face to face.
I don't know if you guys remember all those times on the podcast when we're like, oh, we're going to start our ghost tours when everything's fine again.
Yeah.
And then we like actually got to do that. And oh my God, we have gotten so many. Okay. So I'm all for like, hey, ghosts are real, right? Everything's fine. But when we actually started doing the tours, we actually have obtained so much evidence. It's kind of ridiculous. And people will constantly be saying like, oh yeah, I asked this question and the Caparaz did this. I asked this question, the Caparaz did that, whatever they're asking. But there's always a response. There's always something going on and it's wild. And when I first started the tours, I was like, you know, like maybe we'll get something every once in a while, but we'll tell everyone about the stories and we'll tell everyone about the history and that'll be interesting. No, literally every single time we go out, we find something. And that is wild to me. Yeah. I did not think that we were going to ever get anything that often. Or anything that crazy because like we had one time when there was just like knocking on the door. I mean, blatant knocking on the door and there were 13 people in the room and no one was by the door, first of all. And we checked and there's nothing there. And then at the facility, there were cameras and there was no one there. Mm-hmm. So
we both thought we were messing with each other.
Yes, we both were like, oh, come on. Like, you did that?
Our guests thought that they kept like looking at us for a reveal or something shocking, and I was trying not to show any face of reaction, you know, like you're supposed to do with a bully or whatever, because I was like, someone's messing with us, someone's trying to add something to the
You're much stronger than I am. If someone starts insulting me, I'm gonna be like, what happened? What did I do?
So I'm like trying to stay stoic, and then someone brings it up and I'm like, and no one's reacting, like laughing, and I was like, oh no, that was real.
And then everyone started going, oh, was it you? Was it you? Was it you? Was it you? And then no one trusted each other after.
Ghost tours, the supreme place to lose trust in everyone you know.
But if you guys forgot how this works, right? We will be posting twice a month. So twice a month you get to see me and Angelica here.
Me. That one.
Me and that one. And you're going to hear first the history. And then we'll tell you a mystery, a ghost story, a conspiracy theory about something that's within the same realm of what we're talking about. But it just so happens for these next 2 weeks, you're going to hear something that directly affects each other.
Yes.
Now,
I'm very, very excited.
Me too. Let's start with our history, okay? This episode is all about the history of things, all right? Now, we're going to start with Gerri Betz.
Okay.
All right. Gerri Betz was a huge feminist, and she had built herself up. It's funny because when people refer to her, they refer to her as just an artist.
Okay.
And her husband was a bioengineer, but every time they talk about Gerri, all I hear is artist, artist, artist. Now, Gerri was much more than an artist, okay? And I'm going to use my lovely script to tell you all about her.
What a lovely script.
What a lovely script. Now, she's a very avid Christian. And she has a whole, if you ever want to learn about Gerri Betz, Gerri, she has like a whole page on her website about herself.
She has a website.
She has a website because yes, she's an artist, but also
you got to promote yourself as
an entrepreneur. So Gerri was 12 of 14 children.
What?
Yo, Gerri's mom.
I hear this story so many times, and it's like, whoa,
why so many?
It's a lot.
That's a whole clan. At that point, start a family business. Am I right? Forever children, child labor or using your resources.
By the way, child labor is not okay.
Using your resources. So her mom had passed away when she was 10 years old. And when her mom had passed away, she had a sister who was 7 years old. And once that sister had realized what was going on, she said that she would be her mother at that point. Yeah.
So she was 10 and her sister was 7?
Her dad had passed away 5 years later when she was 15 years old. And he was buried on Christmas Day. And World War II was going on currently at the time. And she had 3 brothers who were currently serving.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. Have you ever seen that picture with the mother and she has like, again, a lot of sons? Like, I want to say it's 10 kids and they're all sons and they all go off to World War II.
I have not seen. It's a picture?
It's a picture. It's a photograph. And because, I'm on Facebook all the time.
Yeah.
It was a Facebook picture. So real, not real, who knows? But that makes me think of that. They all survived, by the way, in the picture.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if,
I don't know. Okay. I have no idea.
I hope so.
So yeah, and then the third oldest from her had told her that she could stay with him in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh,
so that's how she ended up in Jacksonville. Okay. Hence why we're connected, because Geraldine, preferred Gerri, was born in Ohio. But yeah, she ended up moving to Jacksonville, Florida after that. And she had literally a cot in the kitchen. And when it was time to cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner, she would fold up her cot in the morning and pop it in the corner. But that's where she lived, which is not strange because, well, for any of you who have listened to our previous episodes, in 1909, when people started moving into our town, which is Davie, they would have literally a box that was maybe not even 10 by 10, and they would sleep all over. There was a family called the Hammer family that had 14 people in their family.
Again. More than 10.
Yeah. And they were in a little bit larger of a pioneer home than 10 by 10. But at the same time, parents would sleep in the cot and then the kids would kind of find space anywhere. And if you were annoyed with your siblings, you go camping outside or find someone who was a single child and go have a sleepover. That was my
At
recommendation.
least, with Gerri, she had direct access to.
She did. Okay, yeah. Midnight snack, dude?
That's what I was thinking. What were you thinking?
No, I was like, yeah, she had a family to go to.
Oh, that too. Obviously.
While she was staying with her brother in Jacksonville, she ended up getting married. So she got married. She had 3 children. She was working 2 jobs, one during the day, and then one which was like inventory counting at night. And then when she had ended up working like in the office of a factory, but she was doing so well at her job that they thought that she had a college degree.
Oh, get it.
So they thought that she had done all this education, but then she thought, oh, well, if this is easy for me. She ended up going to university. So she made 75 cents an hour before taxes, which would be $28.45 per week. Okay. So
wait, I have to look this up. Oh no, I don't.
So she made 75 cents an hour before taxes, or how she refers to it, she said, I made 75 cents an hour before taxes, or $28.45 per week.
Listeners, you have to tell us, how much money is that today? I'm curious.
Yeah. Even though I had a lot of experience, like paying for a babysitter every week. Oh yeah. She'd go to make a mortgage payment to buy land. Gerri bought land. Smart lady. Even today, hot take, buy land.
If you can.
You can. There's so many things. Don't get me started.
Everyone is homesteading now, so they're looking for plots of land towards like the middle of the
It's
country.
for homesteading, and also the government is looking to get rid of land in a lot of locations. Yeah. So it's like $200 for an acre that whatever. Anyways.
Can you imagine $200 for an acre? Anyway.
Yes. So she ended up getting a babysitter every week. And then she went to go make mortgage payments so that she could start paying for land. And then that's how she got into her real estate era, I guess is what it is. She was buying and selling these plots of land like crazy. So
you know what? I was thinking too, like, we're saying, oh, that's crazy. Florida now is not what Florida was back then.
No, yeah.
Yeah, it was Everglades. It was untamable. And just what, like you were saying, I think we have a story from a while back. There were unethical ways that the government was trying to get people to move to Florida.
Yeah, I mean, Florida is swamp, right? Let's be real. Florida is swamp. We're sinking every year. We know this.
It's a beautiful location. You should visit.
Yeah, visit. It's humid. There's a couple mosquitoes, but Chicago has mosquitoes. But people were finding that the farmland was so rich and plentiful. So during this time, if people, I mean, like I said, back in 1909, people were moving into Davie, but even after World War II, farmers were still constantly moving in. So there's so much here, and people were building hotels because Davie's only 30 minutes away from Miami. And back then it was even shorter because less traffic, and there was one road that went from here to Miami, or you could take one single canal that would just go all the way up to Miami that people would use for trade. But if you had a little extra cash, you would use it for entertainment.
Yeah. So I'd imagine like Jacksonville was very similar.
Girl, people, whatever, but people were partying back then. Let me just say, right after the war, people were partying. So she ended up being really invested in this real estate business. And even in the 50s, she was, potting plants, planting them. So she was also huge in the environmental scene. So she was advocating not only for buying and selling property, but she was also advocating for the environment.
That's awesome.
Yes. So she was planting trees actively. And then she says that she used a dibbler to plant trees, which is like a
dibbler,
which just basically makes it easier for you to plant trees. And she ended up getting a truck and a trailer, and then she went looking for business. Now, listen to this smart lady.
I'm listening.
Okay. She ended up buying one truck, right, and one trailer. She ended up later having a whole fleet of them, and she went into the trading business and the import-export business. So she was working with companies to not only transport resources but also import resources from their locations.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry. I think this woman is like crazy good.
Yeah, she's super smart.
So
she's a go-getter.
Geraldine girl. So she had a daily service that went through Florida. Okay. And it went as far north as Allentown, Pennsylvania. And then she ended up installing one of the first Watts lines, meaning that she was able to connect a phone line from Jacksonville, Florida to any of her clients. So any of those storage units could call in to her and say, hey, I need you to transport X amount of goods to blank. And then she could do that.
That's crazy because you don't think about, phones connection not existing. Mm. And it's like right when you were able to constantly make phone calls, she put in that phone line so that she could be in daily communication with her customers. Yeah, she's one of the reasons it exists down here. Yeah.
So she was able to keep in contact with all of her customers, and it was at a flat monthly rate. So she would have to charge, but you do the numbers, you upcharge, and then it works out.
Gerri did subscription services.
Gerri did subscriptions. And then she could find out what her customers had to sell, and then she could find customers for them. So not only was she importing and exporting, she was also connecting. She was basically her own chamber of commerce, if you will. Yeah. So then she had her son in 1961. His name is Wayne. And that was her first son. And then in 1963, she married Antoine Betz. So this is her second husband. I'll explain what he did, and then I'll explain his job.
Okay.
The day they got married, he went to sea. Okay. SEA.
And also disappeared?
No. This man stayed forever. Antoine Betz went to sea the same day, and his daughter Janice also became her daughter that day.
Oh,
I know. Now, later they had a daughter, Denise, who was born in 1964, and Antoine was at sea for 3 months at a time because he is a chief engineer for the United States Lines.
Power couple. She
ran her company and took care of the family while he was away taking care of that for the government. In 1964, what happened was an article was written about her called She Turned a White Elephant into Gold. And I highly recommend the article, reading it, because it expresses her story in business and how being a woman in the 50s and being the owner of your business and being in charge of that business and all of the things that come along with it.
You couldn't, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you couldn't have your own credit card at that time?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No. Bank accounts, things like that. Like you would have to use a man to use those things. So
that's incredible.
That article was published, and then she ended up on a TV show. I don't know if you guys remember this TV show, but I watch clips of it all the time. To Tell the Truth.
To Tell the Truth.
To Tell the Truth is where they go and they basically say like, oh, I'm so-and-so, or oh, I'm so-and-so, and people say whether they believe you or not, who's the liar, like all that stuff. So she was one of the people on To Tell the Truth, and it was that she's a fully formed female entrepreneur, and like all like she told her story basically, and they had to say whether or not she was telling the truth or lying.
That's really cool.
I'm obsessed with her. Okay. So she was on To Tell the Truth, and then we have dogs in the room.
Yeah. If you hear snoring, if you hear digging, if you hear Or see our eyes start to the side. We're looking at our dogs.
Looking at the dogs. So she ended up always looking for like easier, faster way to do things. And she ended up doing Painter Poultry, which was her bread and butter hauling account. So this was her hauling business name. So
like
Painter Poultry.
Hauling?
So like import export. And
like hauling.
Painter Poultry, who was her bread and butter hauling account. So like
Hauling.
Painter Poultry is like the business.
Hauling.
Okay. Hauling. And it was about to be closed because of a bacteria that was flowing through the water. Yeah. So, poultry, if the poultry is consuming bacteria, then the poultry is not good anymore.
Like our eggs.
Like our eggs. So it was flowing through St. John's River, and it was killing all of these fish and grody. And she ended up inventing, and I have to fully read this because it's a long word, polyatomic oxygen generator. So she invented the polyatomic oxygen generator, which had killed the bacteria and viruses in the sewage and water. So she basically created this filter that would filter out. So you know how like we get clean water now? She invented this filter for this company specifically, so that it would filter out all that bacteria and nastiness so that they could continue and the fish would no longer die.
That's
and they could continue. Yeah.
That's incredible.
I'm obsessed with her. So she ended up saving over 400 jobs by doing that.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Way to go, Gerri.
She was also involved as a producer for some film productions.
Really?
An artist. And then she was saying that she would have to build a set for a castle for films and things like that. But she ended up hearing about a place in Fort George. Okay. So in Fort George, which is like right outside of Jacksonville, Florida, is on George Island. And that is an old historic home that she ended up buying. And people call it the castle because it literally looks like a castle, which we will be talking about in our next episode further.
Okay.
Yes.
Creepy castle?
It's very pretty. It's very nice.
Okay.
What castle?
Creepy like
Dracula's it's not. Well, yes.
I'm confused.
Anyways, it is a creepy castle, but Gerri's not.
Okay.
So she ended up buying this castle in 1968, and that was her family home until 1985. Okay. So she was a bit of and she says this, rebel.
Okay. And obviously
she would go to City Hall constantly because when she was in Europe, the Florida Public Service Commission had started creating these laws where it was like the government had more control over what she could and could not haul for her companies. Okay, you need to calm down with that word. What she could and could not export through her companies, right? So she obviously was upset because now they're costing her money. Now the government is directly affecting her company. And she ended up taking on a lot of this burden of going to government resources and advocating and speaking on government property. And she was saving a lot of truckers because when you take away those resources, also you're affecting the businesses of the truckers and their families, right? So she ended up getting a moratorium from the governor, and she finally prevailed. So like all of her fighting ended up getting like her way of, I have a choice on what I am bringing in and out of this area. Mm-hmm. She ended up advocating for all of this. And she had worked directly with a woman named Paula Hawkins, who
hauls. Haulin' with Hawkins.
Mm-hmm. Can we tell that I don't like that slogan?
Haulin' with Hawkins. I can see a commercial. Caca! It's a hawk. Holland. Oh, and the hawk's like carrying a storage container.
That's so
Holland.
America. It's crazy.
Exactly.
No.
What?
America.
America. Holland with Hawkins and American soil.
Anyways, so she ended up working with the governor, and then in the process, she helped Paula Hawkins get elected for the first time and later become a U.S. senator. So a female senator was put in the House thanks to...
She's just making all these changes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So another company she started was Able Chauffeurs, and it's a leasing service. So they named it that because it would be on the top of the phone service listing. So they started with an A so that she was closer to the top of the phone books. And
able to work with marketing.
And then not only would she provide these services of trucking, but she would also provide the drivers. So the business would so she would help the businesses not only with the trucks themselves, but also hiring the drivers for the service. These companies would get many like big accounts for customers. And then she continued buying land, continued her real estate business. And she ended up, along with her sons, doing a large project that's called the Greens in Jolington Creek and the trade port in JIA Portilla West Side Industrial Park and golf courses.
Wow.
So she also had bought a mile of the St. Johns River, including Sisters Creek Fish Camp and Pirates Cove, Otter Springs, and this includes over 800 acres attached to it. 540 acres of Thomas Creek, 550 acres of Pumpkin Hill, and then she ended up selling Pumpkin Hill back to the city so that it wouldn't be sold to developers because developers wanted to buy the property, but she ended up selling it to the city so that they could build a park on top of it, which is now called Betz Tiger Point Preserve after their family. So rather than, people building buildings on top of it, it became a nature reserve and,
awesome.
and somewhere like nice that people could
patch?
Go to. Not that I know of.
Why is it called Pumpkin Park if there's no
pumpkin patch? Later, her husband had passed away in 1987. I know. And then she ended up getting married once more. Husband number 3.
Third time's the charm.
So she ended up getting married November of 1989, and Arnold is an engineer as well.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. She likes smart men.
Obviously.
And that's all that you can focus on. So he was an engineer, and they ended up having a lot in common. His job took him literally all over the world. She ended up being able to travel to South Africa, Australia, and she would be with him for months at a time because, her kids were getting older, so she was able to travel more.
Nice. She worked hard enough.
Oh, when I tell you this girl deserved the trip, this girl deserved the trip.
Yeah.
And she would wake up at night and she would be kind of like mesmerized with the fact that she was like in these faraway places and like how she ended up there and things like that. And she says like she still does feel like I am in these crazy places. This is so incredible. So she constantly was like, I can't believe I got this far. And also I love my life right now.
I mean, going from a cot in an ideal place.
Going from a cot in her brother's kitchen.
In the kitchen.
To buying a castle. Buying a castle and traveling the world.
Yeah.
So she was also very active in community service, as we know. And she would serve on a bunch of boards in Jacksonville. She actually also served on the Chamber of Commerce for transportation. And she also served for the International Airport Redevelopment Board, the Jacksonville Economic Commissions, Northwest Jacks Economic Development Board. So she was a part of all these boards to help advocate for not only herself, but also for businesses involved. So it wasn't just her business, because if you ever... coming from business owners, if you ever want to advocate for other businesses or for your business, join commerces and join boards, because those are going to get you super, super far. That was my side little piece. Back to Gerri.
Well, the thing is, it takes work to make change.
Yeah.
So when you are working your business, sometimes you feel like there's a lot pushing against you, which makes sense. You're making something new. You're making something that's your own.
Yeah.
So joining these boards, becoming involved in not just your business, but in the community.
Yeah.
It's going to benefit others, and then it's going to help you out because you're affecting the change that you're creating through your business, I guess you can say.
For sure.
And then making way for others. So it's cool.
I mean, honestly, it's really cool to see, because she pushed for things that were not only beneficial to her, but would also help people.
Yeah.
I mean, saving over 400 jobs for people who she did not know, people who were part of the company that she worked with, who was one of her larger accounts, but still, she was able to assist those people in a way that you wouldn't think that regular people would. They'd be like, oh, I guess that didn't work out.
I mean, she's like Wonder Woman. Caca.
Or better. Okay, no more hawks. So then in 2003, her and Arnold ended up doing a redevelopment project in Otter Springs Resort, an RV park. So those 800 plus acres, with 100 acres on the Swanee River.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Over by the
river. And two magnitude 2 springs, which means that she had like little bodies of water with it. So basically nature reserves within those, right? Also had a landing field, a landing field for helicopters and planes, a church, cabins, recreational buildings, Olympic-sized indoor pool, a lodge, canteen, picnic building, and 105 pull-through RV sites. So 105 RVs could park and sleep in that facility. And then they ended up becoming involved in the Community Monthly Christian Fellowship Music Festival. So she had helped create festivals and fund those. And basically she became like the Christian Woodstock area. So that's
interesting.
Isn't that crazy? So they would have these like music festivals. They would have their religious music festivals. And Angelica and I aren't very religious, but I always think it's like kind of cool when you see like all these people come together and they're listening to whatever they believe in. But she was Christian Woodstock.
That's so funny.
Yeah. I think it's hilarious. So she created this space with these RVs and this and that, and on this huge park space.
I mean, it's hopefully safe fun.
It makes sense.
Safe fun.
It makes sense. And she would end up putting this kind of land and rundown buildings. She would like take the land in the rundown buildings and she would repurpose them. So flip that house, Yeah. So she would do all of these things for people. And then they established different corporate entities for different purposes. So she has a lot of, she has like charities and companies that she's affiliated with. So she purchased 600 acres in Gilchrist County, and it manages property for vets, and it's a part of the Camp Valor project.
That's great.
So she used the money from what she sold and she reinvested it to help veterans.
Because like her dad and her brothers.
And her 3 brothers. And this became her like newfound freedom, right? Like this woman who has all these businesses, advocates and everything. And she's like, I'm retired as a working woman. And it created this freedom for her and Arnold. And then they just traveled. And they took cruises. They went to Norway, which is where her ancestry is from.
Okay.
And then they've traveled through the United States, through Canada, and she takes a lot of pictures. And if you want to see any of these pictures, you go on her website, okay? I will...
Is she still alive?
Gerri passed away. Gerri had passed away 2024, September 30th. But if you want to see like basically her blog, you can go onto her website and you can see, like, she has a picture on here. The day I married Arnold was the day I won the jackpot. And it's her little jackpot sign and her husband with like a fedora and
That's
like
so
they're
cute.
hanging out. You can also see her art on there because she was actively creating art.
Oh, nice.
I don't know what kind of painting style she used, if it was acrylics or oils. And then you can also see the places that she traveled to.
That's cool. And if you're watching on YouTube, we'll link it down below.
Yeah, of course. I'll include all of that information. But what I would like to take away from this.
Oh, yeah?
What I want to take away from this.
Okay.
Is that a woman.
Yeah.
Nicknamed Gerri, which I wonder if she used that because she doesn't say it and I can't find any articles about it. I wonder if she used like, oh, Gerri, he sounds great. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if that's what it was, or if she had any connections with any of the line girls for the phone lines. Like if she, I don't know. You know what I mean?
That's so funny. That reminds me of that Whoopi movie where she is, I think she's a lawyer, or something in stocks, whatever. She's a businesswoman.
Yeah. And
she poses as a man, and there's this whole thing, it's a whole statement from the 80s or 90s about, the respect that you get versus, which was a big topic, still a big topic. And now there's this whole thing on the internet about stars posing as their assistants. So I wonder if she was Gerri posing as an assistant for Gerri, the man.
I wonder. And she it's funny because even recently, I think in 2022, 2023, there was an article that came out of these two women who started a business and they had only emailed clients.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
They only emailed their clients. They never spoke to them on the phone.
Yeah.
And then after 5 years, they finally after they had well-established clientele, whatever, they finally were like, we're women. And they released articles and everything about it because it was true. It was like if a woman was emailing their male clientele, they would respond a certain way. If they, posing as men, would respond to their clientele, they would respond with much more respect and reserve.
What a crazy world we live in.
What a crazy world we live in.
But it's cool that she was able to also have relationships with these men who seemed like super smart, respectful of her and what she wanted to do with her life. And cool too that she had a son because she can impart that on him and her daughter too. Yeah,
her and her family, after moving into the castle, had a lot of strange things that happened to them that we're going to be talking about in our next episode.
Well, I forgot about the castle for
Yes.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about it in our next episode. And I think that's fun that this directly affects the next episode because sometimes we'll do things, if you guys have listened to previous episodes, which you find on Spotify, you'll know that sometimes we'll just do things in the same town or do things in Florida.
We'll try to stretch and see what kind of fits together so these can be as cohesive as possible.
As cohesive as possible. But this one directly, this is literally, Gerri is about to have some very strange happenings happen to her that is not mentioned at all in her blog.
What?
No. She wanted nothing to do with what we're about to talk about in our next episode.
Curious. Okay.
I know. What a strong woman who's just like, I'm out.
All right.
So I hope you have a beautiful, glorious, and wondrous rest of your day, my lovely friends. Please tune in twice a month.
Hey guys, so as we were doing our outro, the mic fully fell on me.
Is it haunted? I don't know. We are in a new office. Well, my friends, that was Gerri Betz. Geraldine.
Gerri's amazing.
Yes, she is. And you'll hear more about her next time. Always remember to go on to our Instagram. You could go on to Spotify and now YouTube. This will be something that you can listen to in your car, at home, while you're cooking, while you're cleaning, while you're falling asleep at night. I don't know. Maybe we're soothing in that way.
ASMR.
And I want you to have a beautiful, glorious, and wonderful rest of your week. Be sure to tune in 2 weeks for our next episode where we talk about the Betz Sphere.
The Betz Sphere?
The Betz Sphere.
Like the people that surrounded her?
No. The Betz Sphere.
Okay.
It's a sphere.
All right. I guess I'll find out later.
Come on, guys.
But we will see you creepers next time.
My name's Alexandra.
My name is Angelica.
Everybody, goodbye.